Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bagadon, Stock Market Caddy, and today is August 4th at about noon. So you want to look for us we're going to try as best we can to punch up somewheres between the hours of 11 and we'll say 11 to 1, somewheres in the middle part of the day. And we have a program that has just kicked on, and it may or may not fire. We're actually, if you've noticed, the 2 minute here on the NQ, two, we've changed it to a 2 and a 5, and it's going to trade the 2 minute um, in concert with the 5. It's going to do it automatically, but we may or may not get any trades, right? They came in a frothy mood. The dip buyers, the new money mutual fund Monday on August. The market goes down pretty hard Thursday, Friday, and then everyone who is out there working, putting money into their retirement accounts, that money starts flowing in, and the Wall Street is just love to distribute it and bid this crap up. And it is crap. Will probably be right back down. Don't be surprised. Turn around Tuesday, we're right back down, challenging the lows of a Friday. Don't doubt that for a moment. If you have any questions on who we are, what we're about, don't hesitate, and we'll give everybody a chance to find us. If you push the notification button on YouTube, you'll when we punch up live, you'll get a notification. Streamlabs was giving us a little bit of a problem, so we punched up a couple of times. Actually, it was the third time was the charm, and I think we punched up. Let's take a look at what Swing Machine is doing, has done this morning. If you had this on your desktop, let's take a look. First thing is we'll highlight this red. Bear with me. Here is the VIX, the 5-minute VIX. At 7:35 today, it starts trending down. 7:35. That's an indication to our members that the market's really not that fearful about what happened on Thursday and Friday. And we'll talk about that in a moment. What actually happened. What they think happened, right? Now, let's take a look at the 5-minute ES. We'll just focus on the 5-minute. The 5-minute goes long at 9:20. 9:20. So if you were here for it and you said, I think, with the VIX being short, I think I'll go ahead and take that. If you did it with a mini, you're up 2237.50. If you did it with a micro, you're up a couple hundred. If you did it with 10 minis, you're up 22 grand. Let's take a look at the NQ. The NQ kind of led the charge. Maybe Europe was in a frothy mood. The Swiss national team, all those sovereign wealth funds over there, they come in and they start buying up the Nasdaq at. Bear with me a moment. I'm sorry about that. Neglected. So here is the NQ. The NQ goes long at 245, well before the Nasdaq or before the VIX, and maybe the Europeans, right? Maybe the Swiss national team, all those sovereign wealth funds. They come pouring in. And a mini, you'd be up 5,700 if your machine took it. I'm assuming you're not up for it, but maybe you are. If you did it with a micro, you're up 500. If you did it with 10 minis, you're up $55,000. Let's take a look at the YM. Now our machine is running. If a trade presents itself the way that I've got it programmed, it'll go in automatically and we can follow it together. And it'll do so with 5 micros. I'll explain in a moment what it's going to do. The YM goes along at 935. You'd be up 900. That'd be fine. That would work. How about the Russell? 930. 825. Gold, 705. Almost $2,000. 1920. Silver, long, not that long ago, 1140. Oil, 430. 1030 this morning, 1035. And then Bitcoin. Now we track Bitcoin. This Bitcoin contract is enormous in terms of margin. So we're not trading intraday Bitcoin, but we track it here for anyone that has an interest in crypto. So I'm going to back these off. The program that we're running is Swing Machine Cubed. Swing Machine Cubed. And we're running it 2-minute, the 2-minute, in the direction of the 5. And we have it optimized, and we're only running it from noon to 4. Now here with y'all, we're probably only going to be up until about 1, maybe 1:30. So I don't know if there are going to be any trades go off. I don't know where we're going to be. We're not trying to prove outcomes when we do this, but we're just trying to show you what it looks like. But if a trade goes in, it won't be me putting it in. It won't be me looking at moving averages or stochastics or MACDs, trying to manhandle the account. It's going to be finessed by a machine. I'm reminded, did you catch the headlines over the weekend? That the jobs number was bad. Oh my goodness. And all these podcasters and all these, the Wall Street Journal and all the economic mumbo jumbo, whatever, they all come out, including Trump. She lied, she's crooked, she's trying to hurt me, whatever. It's the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, right? A government group. A bunch of, economists. I think there are 40 people on her staff, probably making $300,000-$400,000, estimating who's working and who isn't working. Folks, it's bullshit. It's always been bullshit. They don't friggin' know. They don't have a clue. It was a revision to boot, right? A revision. They come out with the numbers, and the market shares it. Then they come out the next month and they revise it this way, they revise it that way. And not to pick on Trump, but Trump, would have everyone believe that this woman did it to hurt him. Well, it just, that alone, one, the numbers are bullshit. But that doesn't quite compute because she and her staff have reported on at least 2 or 3 jobs numbers since he's been president. Why didn't they do it earlier? I mean, that doesn't really quite make so much sense to me. But he wants to fire her, or he did fire her. So how would you like to be the new guy? Working up the numbers, knowing that if you produce a number that Trump doesn't like, he's going to fire your ass. But in your heart of hearts that these numbers are bullshit. And like I say, they've always been BS. I mean, this was the conversation I had with Susan back in the early 2000s. I mean, I feel like, how stupid was I even to have subscribed to any of that, in the years prior. I do like to listen to Peter Schiff, and he had a great analogy. He said, to believe the Bureau of Labor and Statistics on any economic numbers would be like believing the mafia, organized crime, giving you crime statistics. I mean, come on. So it's BS. And but Trump is gonna, he's gonna appoint some people, and and he'll, and when it goes his way, he'll take all the credit. When it doesn't go his way, he'll say it's rigged. Of course, when it goes his way, it's not rigged, and the market will cheer, and the market will do that. It doesn't matter. But Don, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. It never has. It never has. Wall Street and Madison Avenue have figured out decades ago how to fleece the American people. It's one and the same. They need your money in the game. They need you to give them your money. They need you to go to work, put your nose to the grindstone, and send them your money. Now, you will only do that if you tell them or you're told a fairy tale. Oh, I think, oil is really going up because everyone uses oil. But, what you want to do is not invest in oil, but let's invest in the infrastructure of oil, and let's invest in piping and ba, 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 ba. I don't care what it is. The internet, we're not going to invest in just the internet. We're going to invest in fiber optics. Okay. We're going to invest in social media. Okay. We're going to invest in AI. AI is going to take over the world. Probably is. Probably is. And you know what? All of those things, you could have made a bundle. You absolutely could have made a bundle. You could have made a bundle in fiber optics. You could have made a bundle in social media. You could have made a bundle in oil. You could have made a bundle in AI. And there are new things coming out today, tomorrow, the next week, the next month, where you could make a bundle. The catch is you need to make it. You need to realize the profits. You gotta get the fish in the boat. You gotta get the fish to the table. It's not enough to just catch them and throw them back. It can be a lot of fun. So you gotta realize the profits. Now, if you're, investing to invest, then you just, so that you can go to the family cookout and tell your grandfather or your great uncle or your uncles how rich you are on paper, and, all right, have at it. But at some point, you got to realize it. Also, folks, these markets are not the same. Anyone looking at charts, back in '08 it did this, and back in 1999 it did that, or 1929. If you're listening to, your great grandfather, your great uncle, the shit has changed, and it's constantly changing. It is constantly changing. And if there's one constant in these markets, is that it's going to keep changing. Now, it may not be so radical from one day to the next, or 1 week to the next, but it can be, otherwise known as volatility. And the person or persons who are equipped psychologically, physically, financially, technologically to adapt and move this way, move that way, and park all the narrative bullshit. Just check it at the door. Just let it go. I mean, if I hear another interview of DiMartino and the guy at Hedgeye, Oh yeah, sitting around with their multicolored socks or his loafers with no socks, discussing, the Fed. I mean, uh, she's a Fed sniffer. Like the Fed has any friggin' clue? They're spending what $2.5 billion of taxpayer money to redo that building. They should blow it. It should be taken down. Should be taken down. End the Fed. I don't care what the story is. We don't invest in stories. These markets are going to move, as you've seen in the last few days. They're going to move one way and they're going to move the other. Our job, we're using technology, we're using our smarts, we're using our programs to move in and move out and extract cash flow from the money flow day in and day out and have a nice life. And everyone else can do whatever they want to do and believe in whatever they want to believe. And I'm not out to change anyone's belief systems. I am out to say, think about it. Think about it. You know, how would you like to be the next guy on the bureau replacing that Bureau of Labor and Statistics? Oh my God! As though it's got anything to do with anything, too. I mean, how do we know? How do you know that it was the jobs number that made the market sell off? I mean, somebody just attached it. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Maybe at around 2 this afternoon, something else is going to pop up. And I was saying, oh, that was it. That was it. Of course, if it's, something judgmental, Trump will, fire that person too, or fire that department. I mean, it's just, it is what it is. It's a little buffoonery. So we don't get caught up in storytelling or the narratives. We don't. We don't. I mean, if you want to hash it out and chat about, just from an academic standpoint and write down on paper where you think interest rates will be and not be and where the value of the dollar, all that. You want to do that, have at it. But I wouldn't be putting my life savings on any of that. Nope. Nope. It's hard enough for a few minutes, a few days, a few weeks. You start going out years, you know. Maybe MicroStrategy is going to go to, $20,000 a share. Maybe MicroStrategy is is just a bubble. It's just, pixie dust. It's going to just, go to zero. Oh, that could never happen. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's happened. It happens. And just from a historical standpoint, for those of you that are so young, that many of you may have been in high school back in 1999. I mean, there was, tremendous potential. Everybody. They didn't have podcasters then. The internet was just coming available, right? But we had thousands of more companies, and Glasnost was taking place. The Soviet Union was following. China was coming online. Viagra had been invented. We had global, fiber optics. We had cell phones coming out. Not even the smartphones yet. Computers and Sun Microsystems and just fantastic. And the Nasdaq went from, in the hundreds to 5,000 on an index. 5,000. I think it was 5,035 if I remember correctly. And in that last 25 or 30% happened just in a matter of months. And then suddenly, in March of 2000, after they said that maybe in the podcast, it wasn't really a podcaster, it was somebody on CNBC saying the world was going to end because of 2000 and the computers couldn't handle the 3 zeros or the 4 zeros, then it was all going to end. And then, and the Fed pumped in liquidity. And then when we got through, I even have the New Year's Eve glasses over our bar, with the 2000, and everybody survived. The market rallied up, and then in early March of 2000, it started to sell off. Then everybody's, it's no big deal. It's just a little dip, no big deal. And it kept selling. And it kept selling. And there were folks who had speculated. Remember Sue Herrera? She used to be on CNBC. I remember she did a show in October of the year before talking about, is it a bubble? Is it a bubble? Yeah, we all knew it to be a bubble. But you can still make a ton of money if you realize that you got it out. 9 months later, the Nasdaq went from 5,000 to 900. 9 months. Straight down. Straight down. Companies like Sun Microsystem, went to $1 or $2 a share. Global Crossing went bust. Oh man. There's another one. WorldCom. WCOM. He was a total fraud. Total, because it was telecommunications. You wanted to be in telecommunications. The point being is today, people cannot agree as to why that started when it started. It just did. It just did. Now you might be saying, wow, but Don, the NASDAQ, it came back and it's now at 23,000. True. Not with the same companies. If you own individual companies, if you own the indices, okay, I guess. Well, that just goes to show that I'll just buy the indice and I'll just hold on because it'll always come back and it'll probably be at 50,000 in 10 years from now or 20 years from now. Maybe. It did take the Nasdaq more than 10, 15 years. I think it was about 10 or 12 years to get back to where it was if you own the indice. So if you were 45 or you were 55 and you had $5 million stashed away in the market and in the indices, and you saw your 5 million go to 500,000, 600,000, and you sat tight. No problem, honey. It'll be back. We'll just wait. And then the time marched on, and by the time you got to 65, maybe you got your bread back. Maybe. But maybe you were 65. Maybe you didn't make it. Maybe you died off. But you know what? The market don't give a shit about any of those people. It just doesn't care. It don't care. And the people that pumped it, there's just the names have changed, the faces have changed, the stories have changed, but it's the same damn thing. The person who probably, the scene of I think is probably the most valuable scene of all. Maybe he ad-libbed it, but in the movie Wall Street, where Matt McConaughey, have you seen it? You gotta pull it up if you haven't seen it. You gotta see the movie, but and he's describing to the young kid, that the parade comes to town. The parade comes to town, and he's thumping his chest, and then the parade leaves town, and he just calls it pixie dust. That's what it is. It is. God only knows. And what these crazy bastards are doing with AI, we're doing some crazy stuff ourselves, more than what we were doing, 3, 4, 5 years ago. It just doesn't cease. Do you really think, I don't know. Maybe people do. Do you really think that in 5 years people are going to be, they're going to have a broker? I guess, maybe. Really? You're going to work your whole life, save what you save, amass what you amass, and then you're going to go to the corner store in your downtown Main Street, and there's going to be some guy in there. He's going to look bad, smell bad, be smoking. I don't know. What we got to do is we got to get invested into AI, or, and he starts, parroting some shit, Oh my God. That's over, folks. It's gone. It was over in 2000. It should have never started. Wish to hell I never. But we didn't have the technology to do what we're doing today before 2000, though. I have to remind myself it wasn't available. Today it is. There's a great democratization going on of all this stuff. You can now have, and with AI coming on, you can now have all of this at your fingertips. If you are adaptable, if you are versatile, if you are disciplined, if you are patient, and if you believe in yourself and you have the confidence, you can do it. You can blow us away. You can blow them away. Joe Kernan, Joe Bag of Donuts, Steve Meisman, Aaron Burnett. What a shitbird she is, right? Oh God, did you see that her? Yeah, what was her comment about the guy, the shooter up there? Possibly white or something. I mean, it's like what? This is Aaron Burnett on CNN. Oh God, these people are dinosaurs. The overpaid dinosaurs. They made their millions, and they're as dumb as they were 25 years ago. So, no storytelling here. I'm not going to tell a story about Bitcoin or you know what? Anybody can have one. Um, we're just going to trade the money flow. That's all. That's all. Privacy of my home office, and we're going to trade the money flow and extract the cash flow. And if they change the money to something else, or they change it, then they change it. I mean, who cares? I mean, we kind of care, but it'll be what it'll be. But anybody out there in their 20s or in their 30s or even early 40s thinking, "Oh, I gotta get diversified and I gotta get into, I got some money now and I'm gonna put a little into AT&T and Verizon and I'm gonna get a dividend." Oh my word. Please, you know, don't have to come to us. We're not managing your money. I'm not soliciting money to manage. I'm not going to do that. I'm just suggesting that you want to get an education as you go. And if you're nearing retirement, don't wait. Don't wait. Get started now. Now. Don't wait. You may not have to wait. You may not have to wait 10 years to retire. You just might blow us all away and blow away your own dream, your own expectations. Remember all the shit they used to tell us? When we're in our 20s? Well, you got to do this, you got to do that, because when you retire, you're going to have a lower standard of living, but your costs will be less. Bullshit on that. I'm calling bullshit on that. BS. Send those people packing. Get away from them. Get away from them. Surround yourself with forward-thinking people, and you say, well, how do you do that? I mean, there are some podcasts out there. Things are changing rapidly. You need discipline, patience. You need to be able to adapt, and you need to live on the uncertainty and thrive on it. If you're thinking, you're targeting a number, and you're trying to build some diversified ass portfolio, okay, good luck. It works out. I don't know. But I guess I was thinking about it over the weekend, that people, one, believe the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, that's scary in and of itself. Two, that they revise this shit over and over again. And it's not just the jobs number, it's this number, it's that number. That the media reports on it, that the investing public actually believe it, that President Trump actually believes it, or he thinks it's rigged against them, or God knows what else. Seriously? In a country of 300 million? You think anybody really knows how many damn people are working or not working? I mean, they stopped counting them after people stopped looking for about a year and a half. They don't even count them anymore. Who knows what the hell they're doing? May not be doing anything. I don't know. And it's a canard. Trump, oh, we're raising, with the country's taking in tons of money, we're going to pay down the debt. You believe that? Hey, I don't believe a word of that. It's ridiculous. And why is he, cheering taxes? We're going to tax Canada 35%. We're going to tax Switzerland 50%. You think they're going to pay it? Hell no. Hell no. Consumer's going to pay it. American consumer's going to pay it. Trump? You think he's going to, look at all the money we're raising from taxes. It just fundamentally doesn't even make any sense. Doesn't. But he's a big debt guy. He's a big, whatever. And maybe the collective market, but darn, the market's going up and up, and it's just high. It just keeps going. I get it. I know that. It is staggering. But the stupidity out there is staggering too. It is, and we're talking. We got young people that have graduated in the last 2, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from these Ivy League schools. They don't know shit. They don't know crap about markets or this country. They don't. And that's so scary. And they're trying to live their life the way their daddy lived his life, or their granddaddy. Shit's changed. It's changing rapidly. And what we don't know, and I'm not here, I don't want to be saying this, but it did happen in March of 2000. Can you imagine where we'll be if in 9 months, and I tend to think, I don't know about you, but I tend to think it won't take 9 months. I think it'd probably take like 3. Everything happens so much faster. Where would we be if the S&P went to 1,000? Where would we be if the Nasdaq went back to 5,000, 3,500? The Dow goes back to 5,000. I mean, where would we be? And with AI coming out. What then? But Don, they told me they told me that the market always goes up, and every 100 years it doubles, and yada yada. Oh, okay. What happens? If you put everything in. We have eyes on this every day, every week. We take a little vacation, but we have eyes on this. Doesn't owe anybody anything. It's very merciless. It doesn't care about your retirement. It is amusing to me how the Wall Streeters, for the young people coming in, they just they got the targeted date funds. Okay, All right, so what do I invest in, Mr. HR manager? Well, let's see, you're 25, so you're probably going to retire in the year, where are we, 2025, maybe in the year 2070. So let's put all your money that you work, your 10% into the target date fund 20. Okay, thanks, Mr. HR manager. Great. And that's and in those ETFs, there's not a spit's worth of difference between them. None. Zero. You send me money, we buy stock. You pull money out, we sell stock. It's a little bit scary. I'm going to put Trump in there too. I mean, he's the best we got, a guess of late. But I mean, we'll get some of the other stuff. But I tend to think that he does know. You know, but maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't. I think the guy Scott Bessent knows. I think he gets it, but he isn't going to tell you the truth. Shit, no, they're not going to tell you the truth. I don't know. I don't know. So the official jobs number was we created in a country of 300 million people. We created 73,000 jobs, or I guess revised. I don't know if that was a quarterly, monthly. That's 73,000. What's that? Who knows? Like you say, and they don't even count them after they stop looking. So what is it done? It's just money flow. It's money pushing it in, and they got to have a story. It's the way our minds work, right? The way humans remember shit is a story, narratives. That's how Madison Avenue sells crap. They tell stories, and people remember the stories. They're storytellers. I'm not telling a story here. I'm sitting on my ass, waiting for this computer to exercise the program that we've written, which is, by the way, the 2-minute in the direction of the 5 or the 5, either one, but it's got stops, it's got profit targets, it's got break evens, it's got all kinds of things, and it's set to go. It's started at noon, and if we get a trade, I will get the trade. No story, no narrative, no, no hedge eye. Good grief. Man, that woman blocked me 2 years ago. DiMartino Booth. What the hell does she know? She was she came from media, and she was doing stories on the Fed, and the Fed governor down in Texas, he's retired now, but he was a Fed governor for Texas. He gave her a job because she looked good, sounded good, had some shit, and he wanted her to be his spokesperson down there in Dallas. And that gave her some insight into the central banking, and all of a sudden she's a central banking expert. When it's all bullshit anyways. I mean, even Powell, he doesn't even know what the hell. He doesn't know how many people are working. He doesn't. He doesn't know shit. I mean, here he was. We had 70. It was even. He's so dishonest. There were 73,000 jobs, and he says the job economy is robust. I mean, that's a lie, right? It's a bald-faced lie. He doesn't get called out on it, but but it's BS anyways. But people just, oh yeah, that old geezer. It's And in the world of AI, we don't need it. We don't need that. They shouldn't be spending. There's an order. That wasn't me. That was a 2-minute order. Let's go take a peek at it. Let me just go look here. Yep, there it is. Now I can intervene and can take, it's 5 micros, and just looking here. I see, yeah, yeah, but the dip. So it's I have it programmed to keep buying, buying the dip. We'll see how it works out. I can intervene with the strategy. I'm not going to intervene on the dark side. It's programmed not to lose so much money. It has built-in stops, and if it does, it does. Um, but if I if it does get, and it also has profit targets and whatnot, but I can also go in and execute. And if what I was saying is, I wouldn't execute, like I wouldn't go in and stop it and lose 35. But if it goes up and makes 35, I'm going to try to do it for more than that. But if it goes up 300, 400, and it hasn't executed a profit target, or taken itself out, I could go in manually and just grab it, right? But it's got jack shit to do with the jobs number or any other number. Um, it's just, when I think about it, this was the conversation that we have all the time, right? But this is the conversation I had with Susan. I'm like, we were completely, just about virtually all in cash, early 2000s, and I sit down with Susan. I'm like, Susie, this is bullshit. And I just started to go through, and it took, we took a couple of hours, and then we'll come back and just give it some thought. Let's come back in a few days, and it was over a period of weeks. And I'm like, what about this, Susie? And she's a smart girl. What about this, Don? And so we kept taking it apart. And I was calling the brokers and the brokers, right, to get their insight. It was full of shit. The more questions I asked, the less confidence I had in them. You know, they had all the buzz, all the buzz. I'm not going to name any of the firms. One of the buzzes was, well, if you're not in the market and you miss the 12 best days, your performance, and they just had all the shit. You know, where I became very suspicious of it was that one of the guys who was managing the bulk of our portfolio at the time, he was taking more vacations than I was. And he was taking really nice vacations. Like he flew to base camp in Everest just to assess the base camp because he was going to go back and climb Mount Everest. I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? Susie, I'm like, this SOB. I mean, I don't think so. I'm not taking a vacation to go climb Everest. He's still doing it. He's still doing it. He's still doing it. Gross. So we're here to help those that want to empower themselves. That just say, hey, you know what? I want to take a little bit of my time, a little bit of my capital, and I want to test the waters for myself. And we're going to set that up and give you every opportunity to get that done. Do you know, I'm going to share, I'm going to keep his confidence, or his privacy. But we just had a gentleman that, he goes, Don, I've been following you for 3 years. 3 years, which is great. That's for 3 years. And about 3 or 4 months ago, maybe several weeks ago, I may not have it right, and I was a little uncomfortable with this, but he said, Don, I'll put on a trade. I'm going with you on some things. I'm putting on a trade, and if the trade goes my way, I'm going to join as an annual or the Q school. And I'm like, oh, I get, because anything can happen on any individual trade, and it kind of hinted to me that, hey, this might be an outsized trade, but it was in the direction of the market. and um, and he had been a monthly member and then off, and then he came into it. He had a little concern about where it was, and he became a monthly member. And then I'm happy to say, I think he's happy to say, hey Don, you know something? I booked some profits, and I'm signing up for the queue. What he doesn't know, and I don't know, is he might be the next Logan. He might be. I don't know. Back some years ago, young fella, mid 30s, Utah, calls me up on a Sunday. We didn't have everything that we had back then. We had a lot, but we didn't have everything. And he said to me, we didn't even have Q School fully, formed, and which, by the way, is still evolving, right? We continually refresh. We're going, and we will be. If you go through Q School, you don't have to go through it again, but we're refreshing and refreshing everything constantly. You have to. But he said to me, I want to know, I want to know what you know. Oh, I don't know. I mean, how much trading have you done? I haven't done anything, Don. I haven't done anything. And so I wasn't quite prepared for that. I kind of thought that people were, when they came to us, they would have done some trading, but they hadn't done anything. And so what we ended up doing, it turned out to be the seeds of Q School. I said to this gentleman, I said, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make you a 1 hour video, and I'm not going to charge you for it. And you watch it, and if you like it, then I'll charge you for my time, and it was a certain amount. It was modest. And he's like, okay. He goes, how many videos do you think? I don't know. I don't know how many videos. I said, but I think you'll know, and I'll know. We'll get to a place. Okay, I'm fine with that. So we sent him out the first one, and we did it in a golf theme, and it was kind of the precursor of what was going to become Q School. And it's funny how things work out that way. And we ended up doing five, and we completed the fifth one. He's like, I think that'll be enough for me right now. I'm like, I think so too. And if you're a golfer, you've heard of Hogan's 5 Easy Lessons. We called it Logan's 5 Easy Lessons. In fact, during the time, I think Tesla was just coming out of the ground, if I remember correctly. But it'd be kind of funny to go back and listen. And long story short, Logan, he may not have had trading experience, but he is a very smart young person, and he was getting himself prepared. And inside of a few short months, he turned, I want to say, about $5,000 or $6,000 into about 20 grand, thereabouts. And he adopted a particular approach that we liked, pretty basic. He just gravitated toward that one thing, and he really liked it. And then he called me up, and fortunately, the question was, he didn't ask me, should I do something? He said, could I do something? And that could I was, Don, could I do the same thing that I've been doing with Ethereum? I'm like, oh shit. Okay, what are you thinking of doing, Logan? I wasn't too excited about it because Ethereum had no futures, and I knew where it was in the crypto space, and but I'm like, he didn't ask me that. He just said, could I use what I've been doing with Ethereum? And I said, yeah, you could. And he goes, okay. I think I'm gonna do that. I said, okay. My only advice was, I said, be careful of the exchange that you're going to use, because it's not going to be TradeStation at that time. I said, just be careful with the custodian that you use. Okay. And at the time, folks, I do know that he purchased his first trade was 1,000 Ethereum coins at $20 a coin. Now, he didn't short them, but he would just come out. And he would call me every once in a while and he'd say, "Hey, Don," I said, "how things going, Logan?" "Pretty good. I just bought myself a Camry." "Oh, that's good." He goes, "No, I'm joking, Don. I just made 30 grand." "Oh, okay. Well, that's good. That's good." He goes, "Yeah, I didn't really buy a Camry, but euphemistically, that's what he was saying. I buy a Camry. Don, you got to check it out." And I'm like, "Yeah, I appreciate it, Logan. I'll kind of watch what, but yeah." Call me back again. "Hey, Don, I just bought another Camry. I bought another Camry. Bought another Camry." Logan's done. Done, done. When we talked last about this, he literally, we were talking when Ethereum was at like at $3,800, $4,000 a coin. And Logan had yanked his kids out of school. They were self-teaching them. They bought themselves a motorhome. And they were touring the country. He was done. And his comment was, "Don, do you remember when I started?" I said, "I do." He goes, "Do you remember how nervous I was? How unsettling it was to me to lose like $200-300? So I remember. He goes, "Don, this goes back a ways now, right?" He goes, I have had trades where it's six figures and I don't even bat an eyelash. It's like, it's no big deal." I said, "I know. I get it." Now, some might say, "Yeah, lucky. Yeah. Right place, right time. Yeah." But he was also prepared. Right place, right time. It's one thing to be right place, right time and not be prepared to pull the trigger and do what you got to do. Logan is a smart son of a bitch. He just was, and I told him he was. And I even said to Susan, he was going through, I'm like, "This kid's really, really smart." His questions were really, really probing and really challenging. And we we were not we weren't set up the way that we were set up, but he made changes or suggestions on Swing Machine for us. Because when we first sent it out, Swing Machine didn't even show the P&L. And he's like, "Don, I know I'm doing really well and everything, but if you could show me the P&L on Swing Machine." I'm like, "I don't know if we can do that." Well, but I'll try. I'll try. So we didn't have that. The other thing was with Logan, to give you an idea of how opportunistic he was and how he had his brain, fired up. I was trying to show him something. I said, "Logan," because I went to Logan, right? Because he knew a lot of shit about a lot of different things. I said, "Logan, is there a way that I can show you my screen?" Because we hadn't yet discovered Zoom. He goes, "Oh, yeah, yeah, Don. You want to use Zoom?" "What the hell is Zoom?" "Oh, it's a way to show your screen, Don." Now, this is before COVID, right? I'm like, "It's called Zoom?" "Yeah, yeah, it's really good, Don." I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to check out." So we started using Zoom. We liked Zoom. I'm not crazy about Zoom today. We still use it. But Zoom was trading like at $25, $30 a share. Now, we've traded Zoom. We have. And we had folks that bought shares in Zoom. Because I still have a piece of me, that was influenced by the Peter Lynch of, decades ago, to, if you're going to make an investment in something or a technology in something, and you have firsthand experience with that, that you want to pay attention to that. Those are God winks, right? Susan calls them God winks, and you want to pay attention to those God winks. Zoom was a God wink. I tell the other story. Absolutely happened. I was familiar with Apple. I thought they were, for the most part, out of business. I'm coming back from a business trip. This is back years ago, and the guy beside me has this little white device with a little circle on it, and he's got headphones. I'm like, "What's that?" He goes, "Oh, it's my daughter's iPod." I'm like, "What the hell's an iPod?" He goes, "Oh, it's really cool. It was in the music." I'm like, "Can I hear it?" "Yeah." "Well, how do you see? Oh, you just put the little dial, you circle it." I'm like, "Wow, well, that's pretty cool." I said, "Who makes that?" "Apple." "They're still around?" "Yeah." I'm like, "Huh." I get home. I said, Susie was teaching yoga, and she had her, I don't know what she was doing for her music. She had something she would, I think they were on CDs. I'm like, "Susie, you ever heard of an iPod?" "No." I said, "Do me a favor." And I described it to her. I said, I'm going to buy you an iPod, and I need you to tell me whether you like it or not." So I went out right away, like the next day, next couple of days, and I bought an iPod. She's like, "Wow, this is really, really good." "Okay, let's get some shares. Let's get a little." And then we watch. Now, I was also a big, big user of the BlackBerry. Remember the BlackBerry, the Crackberry? I really, really liked that BlackBerry. Um, but then they started coming out with the smartphone. And I'm like, "Oh, shit, Susie." Because back years ago, there was a brokerage that wanted us to put our investments with them. Right? This is like, we always were adopting technology. And I negotiated with them. I wanted them to get me what they called, can't believe this, a quote track. You'd have to Google it. I don't think it's still around. A quote track. It was a little handheld device, wireless, that I could see the stock prices. And I thought that was the coolest thing. And I asked them, "If I put our funds with you, will you get it for me?" They said yes. Of course, I did not realize it was a monthly charge, and I had to pay that. So I did that. So when Apple started talking about smartphone, I'm like, shit. Now, I didn't realize, I just thought everybody was just going to go bonkers for the quote track, but not really. What they really went for was, all the other bullshit that comes with smartphones. So pay attention to what is around you by virtue of just living in this world, and or whatever it is you're doing. And don't forget me. Let me know. All right. Let me know. I'm very curious. So if you come across some shit, I don't care what it is, let me know. And the other part is, as you all know, and I'm not going to go down that path, but I spent quite a bit of time in surgery, and I had to train a bunch of people to go into surgery for years. The first thing I taught them was that. Pay attention. He said, "You are in the profit center of a hospital. You are in surgery. You are going to see some phenomenal technologies coming in and out, and no one else, no broker or broker or anyone else is going to know about it, but you're going to know about it, and you're going to pay attention to it, and you're going to let me know." And um, so we will, even to this day, not as much. We will still make investments, but it won't be from CNBC, and it will need to pass through a little fundamental rigor And these investments are things that we want to have for, for years to come. And there are always technologies. Don't think for a moment that there'll never be another Sun Microsystems. There will be. And it may end up like Sun Microsystems. That there'll never be another Apple. There will be. That there'll never be another Zoom. There will be. Or that there'll never be another Bitcoin. There will be. Will you have the skill set and the tools to understand and to be able to make a fundamental analysis, but then also be able to track the money flow? Because when the money starts flowing in, there are footprints. It's impossible. They leave footprints. And you do want to pay attention. There's another company. The stock has pulled back quite a bit. And I had suggested this. We don't really make recommendations per se about individual companies. Really, that's not what we're about. We want to give you the tool set, so you can find them. But another one was a company called VRSK, Verisk, Verisk, and how I stumbled upon that was in Florida, the home insurance market was a mess. And we stumbled onto a home insurance company that was really, really good. Really, really good. Like real competitive, very professional for an insurance company. I'm like, huh. And I think I even asked them, I'm like, how come you're so different? Well, we use an insurance analytical company called Verisk. I'm like, you do? Yep. Look it up. VRSK. Now it has pulled back. Okay, so the machine just went in and went out. They just took the profit there. $88. But Verisk, you know, we've had folks, including family, have done extremely well. It is pulling back now, and I'm not recommending or suggesting or anything. I'm not. I'm not here on that. But it was like at about 100, and the thing went to like 380 or some dang thing. Crazy. So the point being is, just be aware. Now, 5 micros, we've been on for about an hour. 88.50 isn't going to be, isn't going to buy you a Camry, or me a Camry. $100 a day, 20 days, 24 possible trading days, but let's say there's 20. It's 2,000 a month in one market, right? But we could still get, more trades off of, that this afternoon, which we'll do. But while I was talking with you, I'm thinking back on things that I don't think back on, right? And that's what I like about, just chatting with you and sharing some things, because I think back, how did we get here? How did we go? Where is this all going? Right? And it just keeps expanding. And I've never been so cocksure of something of this. In the beginning, I wasn't so sure, right? Is this the right thing? I wasn't. But I'm so cocksure that it is, that it's the way to go. And I don't want to mention this. I don't want to mention the person's name, but he has a hell of a lot bigger following. I'm talking millions, and been in the business, a whole bunch of years, and has a podcast and has a business and has sold the business. And if I said his name, you would know. And I always tune him in, after a big sell-off, because I think what they're doing is flawed. um, and they got smoked again last week. And I heard him say he's got a podcast he does every Sunday night. And he said, "Oh, everybody got hit last week." No, no, I got news for you. Not everyone didn't get hit last week. We didn't get hit. We profited. And he's introducing now a whole new way of doing something that he says he's always done. I'm like, well, where the hell you been? Where you been? Where you been? But I'm not mentioning because I don't want to get into blocks, or I don't want it. Um, and I will arm wrestle everyone here, and I would arm wrestle that I am the most ignorant person in these markets. I absolutely am. I don't have an Ivy League degree. I'm not from Wall Street. I was never on CNBC. I would never go on CNBC. I'm the most ignorant person in these markets. And the reason I will arm wrestle you for that is I want to be able to move left or right, right or left. If you playing shortstop, I don't want to have a built-in bias, and I'm not trying to convince people that I know definitively where these markets are going to be this afternoon or tomorrow or 6 months from now, because I don't know. What I do know is that if I have Swing Machine and I have our other tools up there, the movement isn't going to get bias. I just got to have the skill set to be able to execute and to keep my emotions in check, right? Don't want to be making decisions based on greed and fear. I want to be able to maximize my time, maximize our profits, and stay grounded. Sound okay? All right. Kind of on a Monday, but I was like, here we go again. Here we go. Thursday and Friday was just a glimpse and all the same stuff. It always is on the sell-offs. The noise level always picks up. When it does, you just want to throttle it out of your head, right? Especially if you're using the tool sets that we have. You just don't even I'm aware of it, but I don't pay any attention to it. And they'll be out this afternoon. So, see, there you go. Should have been a dip, and maybe it is. Maybe we are gonna go running right back up to the highs again. Maybe we are, but there are gonna be some opportunities coming back. So there always are. If you want us to plug anything in, let me know. And it is now about 1:16. So in about 14 to 15 minutes, we're going to have to turn down on YouTube and get super focused. And let us know if you have any questions, though, and or if you want me to plug any market into Swing Machine or answer any other question. I'm happy to do that. I don't suggest that this is for everybody. It isn't, right? It just isn't, right? I know that. You know that. No. Nope. It isn't. You've got to be a rare bird. This has got to be something you really, really want to do. You've got to be patient. You've got to be disciplined. You don't have to be a programmer, but if you like that idea, and then conceptually, you say, hey, you know what? This is, yeah, this. Because one of the questions that I used to ask myself in the early 2000s when they would say, oh, well, you can't time the market and, you shouldn't be selling, you should be investing. I'm like, who the hell's doing all the selling every day? Like, if I'm not supposed to sell, Susan, who the hell's doing it every damn day? you know, who's doing it? Tell the hedge fund. They don't. One, they're not going to answer your calls. They're not even. I mean, they made hundreds of millions, billions of dollars in the last few days last week. That's what they do. They gather it up and then boom, take it away. Boom. How? Maybe I should play more aggressive. Maybe I should play, but that's and we have folks that do. right? But we're in a great place. I'm in a great place. You get to define that. I wish everyone the best. We'll be here. And just as we sign off, I'll at 1:30, I'll come in and wish everyone a good day. Okay, everyone. Small trade. One trade, fully automated, turned on at noon. Got the trade in, and it will trade the rest of the day. And we'll look for you. Hopefully, maybe tomorrow. We'll try to do this at least for the latter part of the summer, middle part of the day. Give you guys a chance to see Swing Machine. Give you a chance to ask any questions, plug anything in, and don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to see you in the Q School. We have spots going into the fall. Chances are though, come early November, the door may close until January because we will control our growth. We've had a great year, and we're on pace to have another great year. And so the Q schools will, um, you know, in all likelihood, slow down by design.